Something is wrong.
Chief, yes, it's me. I've been waiting. When are you sending the 10 million naira you promised me?
My G-Wagon. I will send it tomorrow.
No, Chief, send it today or no sugar for you this weekend.
No, let me send it to you now. You must give me sugar. Oh.
See, Mumu Maga will chop your money and clean mouths. Mumu man.
Chineke, this backside get visa? Bro, that thing is not natural. God did not do this one alone.
See as the thing big anyhow. Na juju or injection. My sister, that one go finish badly. Mark my words.
Chineke, God, the fake cash don't open. Everybody come out.
What will you do when you discover that life isn't always as you imagine it to be? Listen carefully as we dive into Sarah's story. The morning Sarah Amadi left Oguta village, the wind blew so hard it carried dust into her mother's eyes. Her mother cried. Sarah thought it was the dust. This village will swallow me, Sarah told herself as she dragged her black Ghana must-go bag to the roadside. She was 25 years old, beautiful and burning with hunger, not for food, but for more. More than the market stall her mother ran, more than the kerosene lamp they read under, more than Oguta could ever give. She had saved 30,000 naira from selling her mother's palm oil secretly over 3 months. It was enough for a bus to Lagos. The journey was long and rough. The bus smelled of sweat and fried fish. A woman beside her slept with her mouth open. A man behind her argued on the phone for about 2 hours. But Sarah kept her eyes on the window, watching the trees turn to buildings, the red earth turn to tar, the quiet turn to noise. When the bus entered Lagos, her heart nearly fell out of her chest. This is it, she thought. Her childhood friend, Esther Okafor, lived in Lekki Phase 2. Esther had left the village 4 years earlier and had built herself a quiet, honest life working as a private chef for rich families on the island. She was not flashy, but she was comfortable. Sarah called her from the park. I am in Lagos, she said. There was a pause. Then Esther laughed. You and your wahala. Come. When Sarah arrived at Esther's small but clean apartment, she stood at the entrance and looked around. The flat was simple. A neat sofa, a small TV, a kitchen that smelled of thyme and onions. Sarah smiled with her mouth, but inside she frowned. This is not enough. She had not traveled all this way to live small. Esther tried. God knows she tried. She took Sarah in, fed her, and even helped her get a part-time job assisting a catering company. The pay was not much, but it was honest. Sarah worked for 3 weeks before she stopped showing up. These rich people are spending millions at their parties, Sarah told Esther one night, pulling off her work shoes. And we are serving them? No, I want to be the one being served. Esther looked up from her pot. Sarah, do you know how long it took me to get to where I am? 3 years of waking up at 4 in the morning. 3 years of... I don't have 3 years, Esther. Sarah cut her off. I am 25. My time is now. She has started going out, first to malls, just to walk and watch, then to beach clubs and rooftop bars in Lekki, wearing the few nice dresses she owned. She studied the women there, the way they walked, the way men followed them with their eyes. She noticed something quickly. Curves, turned heads, big hips, full bodies. The women who got the most attention were not the most educated or the most hardworking. They were the most shaped. Sarah came home one evening with a name scribbled on a piece of paper. A clinic somewhere in Ajah. A place, she said, that could give her the body she wanted. A BBL, Brazilian Butt lift. Esther sat down slowly. Sarah, those things can kill you. Everything can kill you, Sarah said, laughing. Where will you even get the money? I have been saving, Sarah said. She had been selling some of her belongings. She had also borrowed from two people at church without telling Esther. Listen to me, Esther held her hand. Your body is not a project. Lagos will use you and dump you. Please. Sarah put her hand away gently. She was not angry. She just did not believe her. 3 weeks later, Sarah went under the knife. At first, it felt like winning. Sarah recovered for 2 weeks at a cheap recovery house in Aja, then emerged like she had been reborn. Her figure was dramatic, wide hips, full behind, a synced waist. She uploaded one photo to Instagram and got 300 followers overnight. Men slid into her inbox. She went to a bar in Lekki and a man in white agbada bought her a bottle of wine that cost more than her mother's weekly earnings. She sent Esther a voice note. I told you. For 6 weeks, Sarah lived the life she had dreamed about on that dusty bus ride from Oguta. Different men, different restaurants, gifts, getaways to Abuja for weekends. She felt powerful, untouchable. Then, one morning, she noticed a smell. She thought it was her bed sheet. She washed everything. The smell remained. It was coming from her, from the surgical site. She looked in the mirror and saw slight swelling, a patch of skin that looked wrong, angry, infected. She went back to the clinic. The doctor gave her antibiotics and sent her home. She did not get better. She got worse. Within 2 weeks, the infection had spread. The pain woke her up at night screaming. The smell became so bad, she had to sleep with her window open. She stopped going out. The men stopped calling. Her Instagram inbox went quiet, the way Lagos go quiet after a party. Sudden and complete. She spent her savings on treatment, one clinic, then another. Then a hospital in Victoria Island told her that the implant had to come out, but the damage was already deep. The tissue were dying. There was discharge, thick yellowish fluid. Maggots began to appear in the wound, a horror she could not have imagined in her worst nightmare. She called Esther, sobbing so hard the words wouldn't come out straight. Esther came. She did not say, I told you so. Instead, she just sat on the floor beside Sarah and held her. Esther became Sarah's nurse, her cleaner, her everything. She cleaned the wound every morning before going to work. She cooked for her, brought her medications, and sat with her on nights when the pain was unbearable. She spent her own savings. She prayed over her. She cried in the bathroom so Sarah wouldn't hear. But the wound was winning. The maggot kept coming back no matter how many times the wound was dressed. The smell has seeped into the walls of the apartment. Esther's landlord sent a warning. Her neighbors complained. One of Esther's clients cancelled her contract after someone told them something was rotting in the chef's house. Esther lost money. She lost sleep. She lost weight. And Sarah, lying on that mattress, watched her friend's life fall apart because of her choices. And the guilt became a second wound, one that no doctor could treat. I am sorry, Sarah whispered one night. Esther didn't answer immediately. She wrung out a cloth, placed it gently on Sarah's forehead, and said quietly, I know. But sorry could not stop the infection. The doctor said she needed surgery she could not afford, and even that might not be enough. The tissue damage was too severe. Her body was shutting down slowly, like a phone with a battery that couldn't hold charge anymore. It was Esther who made the phone call to Oguta. She spoke to Sarah's mother in a low voice from the staircase, explaining as gentle as she could that Sarah needed to come home, that Lagos had done what Lagos does to those who rush it. It had chewed her up. Sarah could not fight the decision. The girl who had dragged her back to the roadside with fire in her eyes could now barely sit up on her own. Lagos had taken everything, her money, her health, her pride. That night, before they left, Sarah looked at Esther and said, "You were the only real thing in this city." They took Sarah home on a Thursday. Her mother was waiting at the roadside, the same roadside Sarah had stood with her bag full of dreams. But her mother was not crying from the wind this time. Instead, she saw her daughter step out of the car, thin as a reed, bent like an old woman, and she let out a cry that split the quiet morning air like an axe. My daughter, what did they do to you?" Sarah's father stood behind her mother, jaw tight, eyes red. He had aged 10 years in 10 seconds. They set up a bed for her in the room she had grown up in, the same room with the cracked ceiling and the curtain that never closed fully. Family came, neighbors came, some prayed, some wept, some whispered. The local clinic did what it could. A visiting nurse came daily. Traditional herbs were tried. Prayer was constant, but Sarah's body had made its decision. She died on a Saturday morning, 3 weeks after returning home. The birds were loud that morning. The sun had come out bright and full, the way it does in the southeast, golden and wide, as if the sky itself didn't know what was happening below it. They buried her at the edge of her father's compound, beneath an udara tree she used to climb as a child. Her mother placed a white cloth over the mound and sat beside it and wept without stopping, rocking back and forth like a woman trying to comfort herself. Her father stood at the grave with his hands hanging at his sides, a man who had no words left in him. Esther stood a little apart from everyone, her arms folded, her eyes dry but hollow. She had cried all her tears already. Back in Lagos, on that staircase, on those mornings with the wound dressing, she looked at the mound of red earth and whispered, "You were enough, Sarah. You were always enough." Contentment is not weakness, it is wisdom. Sarah Amadi was not a bad person. She was just a young woman who confused speed with progress and appearance with value. She saw what Lagos showed her on the surface and forgot to ask what lay beneath. She had a friend who offered her a foundation to build on, but she wanted a mansion overnight. Many young people leave their homes chasing a life they saw on a green screen, filtered, borrowed, and fake. They damage their bodies, their dignity, and their futures trying to become someone else, in someone else's city, by someone else's standard. The greatest trap is not poverty, it is the shame of being ordinary in a world that worships excesses. Work honestly, build slowly, guard your body, value your true friends. Thank you for watching. Kindly let me know what you think about the story. Also, do it to subscribe, like, and share. See you on our next story. Bye.